Car culture has always been a huge part of GTA 5 Online, which is why in today's video, I'm going to give you my personal top 15 list of the best cars to customize in GTA 5 Online. This isn't just a list of cars with the highest number of modifications, because there are several vehicles with like 30 different dial options, and covering those would just be a waste of space and time. Instead, what I've decided to do is include cars that feature meaningful upgrades to both the interior and exterior, as well as cars that offer unique upgrade combos that you won't find anywhere else. Now, I must warn you that most of these cars aren't necessarily the fastest on the road, and that's not really the point of my list because I'm not comparing top speed or acceleration here. Instead, I'm looking at the character of the car itself, how easy it is to personalize, and just whether or not you should buy it if you're a car enthusiast in real life. I'll also take into account things like the handling profile, sound, and overall feel, because those are also very important if you intend to daily drive these vehicles and not just leave them sitting in some of your garages once you're done customizing them. Starting things off at number 1, we've got the Elegy Retro Custom, which is an old school classic, as its design is heavily influenced by 3 separate generations of the Nissan Skyline GTR. Underneath the hood, we find what looks to be a faithful recreation of the legendary RB26 inline 6-cylinder engine, and with it comes a ton of customization options for everything inside the engine bay. There are about 5 different styles of intercoolers, a bunch of valve cover options in both primary and secondary colors, a dozen different cam belt covers, and every type of strut brace you can imagine. There are also a lot of different hood latches, custom dashboards, those dials we were talking about, door cards and seats. Heck, you could probably spend a whole hour just fiddling around with the various seats, roll cages, and steering wheels to make your very own GTR V-Spec racing build. As for handling, it's honestly not that different from the base RH8 that this vehicle is derived from, although I do sense a slight reduction in top speed, and it also feels just a tiny bit lighter around the corners, which could just be down to the better brakes. Not really too sure. Next, we've got yet another Japanese tuning legend, and this one is the Sultan RS Classic. Just to clear up that confusion, this is separate from the Sultan Classic as well as the Sultan RS, and the latter of those two is the closest rival to the RS Classic in terms of customization, because both of them go back and forth in certain key areas. The RS Classic has more exhaust options, meanwhile the RS has better bumper mods for both the front and rear. The RS Classic has more liveries, but the RS has access to some pretty exclusive liveries, like the Princess Robot bubblegum livery, for example. The RS Classic has more roof accessories, while the RS comes with wind deflectors and safety nets for its doors, something that's missing from the RS Classic, and on it goes. It's like King Kong vs Godzilla, but ultimately there can only be one winner. And for me, it's the RS Classic despite the higher price tag, because I like the way it handles, and I'm also a fan of the Subaru WRX Coupe, so I guess that also plays a part in me liking the RS Classic more than the RS, as I also prefer its Impreza-inspired design over the Lexus IS styling that the regular RS uses. At number 3, I've got the Gauntlet Interceptor, which is a $5.4 million Dodge Challenger, specifically the SRT Demon version of the Challenger, which means it has a lot of horsepower and a lot of torque available at any RPM. Handling is just as you'd expect from a big, heavy muscle car with immense power. It slides all over the place and is rather poor at stopping, but it absolutely rips in a straight line and sounds awesome, which is all anyone should care about when they buy a car like this. And for all you tuners out there, the Gauntlet Interceptor also comes with some very unique mods that you won't even find on dedicated tuner cars. For example, you can play around with all these different types of grills. You've got the black grill, the open grill. If you want, you can even do a grill delete. Then there's the exhausts. You've got the big bore exhaust, the race exhaust, and there's also a side-mounted titanium exhaust, which on a police cruiser is just ridiculous, and that's why I love it. You've also got a whole list of headlight covers, hoods, roll cages, spoilers, seats, and more, but what fascinates me the most is the unique customization options on this car that you won't get on other vehicles, like the police aerials, the emergency lights, the searchlights, the tactical push bars on the front for ramming into angry rioters, the ginormous blower that pops out of the hood, the wheelie bar and parachute that you can install in the rear for when you want to hit the drag strip. I mean, the customizations on this thing are honestly just insane. The Tailgator S is up next, and this car being based on an Audi RS3 makes the name especially hilarious if you're familiar with the memes of Audi drivers constantly tailgating people. Now, in GTA Online specifically, the Tailgator S is typically bought by a very different group of people. These folks are not bad drivers or rich middle-aged businessmen looking for a bit of excitement. Instead, they're tuners who want a car that they can modify to be an extension of their own personality and character in this game, and the Tailgator S perfectly fulfills that role with over 260 different customization options, which is just an insane amount to even think about. Are all of these mods exceptional? No, of course not, but the good news is that if you don't like the way something looks, you can easily swap it out for a different part until you get the combination that you like. There are several carbon parts, lots of customization options for the engine bay, including various intake manifolds and even engine block mods, which I think is pretty cool. Like, you can literally swap out one V8 engine block for another, fit all new rail covers on it, add strut braces, intercoolers, just about anything you want, really. Next, we've got the Gauntlet Classic Custom, and this is heavily influenced by the 1969 Charger Daytona, which makes it one of the coolest classic muscle cars you can own in the game. And to get the Classic Custom, you'll first have to spend $615,000 on the base Gauntlet Classic, which then goes to Benny's, where it gets a full makeover of the body and internals for a further $815 grand. While that may seem like a bit on the expensive side for what is essentially a late 60s, early 70s muscle car, you have to remember that this isn't just any muscle car. It's a Daytona, with bits of the Plymouth Superbird thrown in there, so it's got that racing pedigree going for it, that's for sure. It also looks radically different from most muscle cars with its aerodynamic nose cone and that massive spoiler on the back. My next pick is the Dinka RT3000, aka the most expensive Honda S2000 in the whole world. At over $1.7 million, this little sports coupe isn't exactly cheap, and you might be wondering if you should pay such a price for something so basic. But basic doesn't mean bad here, and the RT3000 is the pinnacle of lightweight, no frills sports car design. It handles like a nimble ballet dancer and has just the right amount of oversteer, even in slow corners, to make you feel like you're putting in some effort to keep the car planted. The car feels controllable and predictable at all times, and if you want to drive fast, you'll have to contend with the fact that it has subpar acceleration, so you really need to carry forward momentum through every corner. On the customization front, even if you rice it out with a bunch of bolt-ons, the RT3000 still manages to look cute and composed, which makes it one of my favorite vehicles to just mess around with. I can remove the rear bumper, put a massive diffuser on the back, install skull valve covers on the engine, delete the fenders, remove the entire hood if I feel like it, strip out the dash, stack a giant wing on the back, put on a shiny Wasabi Kitty livery over the whole thing, and that's like one of 2,000 different builds that you can do with this incredible car. The Nero Custom is also worth mentioning today if we're going to be talking about good cars for customization, because even in its base configuration as the Nero, it's one of the most gorgeous cars in the game, being that it's a Bugatti, but once you take it to Benny's and get the custom mod for $605,000, it transforms into a totally different kind of beast, with significantly more customization options and a slight performance boost as well. The Nero Custom is the ultimate evolution of the hypercar, and while it doesn't have the sheer number of customization options as some of its peers like the 10F Widebody, it offers you an excellent template to start with. You've got lots of interior ornaments, trim options, steering wheels, everything you can expect from a Benny's vehicle, but then you also have some very tasteful liveries and GT spoilers that feel like they were designed with the Nero in mind. So ultimately, while your options aren't as numerous with this car as others, each one of those modifications is high quality and custom spec to match the Nero's overall silhouette, so you can take something that's already good and make it even better. Then there's the Sentinel Classic Widebody, which you need to buy if you're a fan of the BMW M3. This particular variant is based on the E30 model, and it's essentially a regular Sentinel Classic with some widebody fenders bolted onto it. It also comes with a spoiler pre-installed, but that's about the only difference you can find from the outside. But once you put this thing under the knife and really dissect it, you'll realize that in terms of customization, it's on a whole other league versus the regular Sentinel Classic. And by whole different league, I mean literally it has twice the amount of mods in certain categories. Fenders, bumpers, strut braces, carbon parts, intercoolers, air filters, you name it. The Sentinel Classic Widebody has it. You can basically strip this thing down and rebuild it any way you want, which is why no two Sentinel Classic builds ever look alike. Next is the Kanjo SJ, and while it's just a Honda Civic coupe with a mediocre top speed and relatively low track performance, the customization options you get with this car are off the charts insane. Not just in terms of sheer numbers, but the quantity of bespoke exclusive mods that only the Kanjo SJ has. There are enough vanity hoods, engine strut braces, spoilers, fenders, and skirts to keep you busy in the mod shop for an entire day as you try out different builds, one after the other, and keep returning for more. And things are honestly much the same with my next car, the Ubermacht Cipher, which is based on a first-gen BMW M2, and I think it's definitely a good-looking car, even without any mods. But once you get into the modding scene for this thing, it's crazy how many builds you have out there. Each one's pretty unique, and there are so many subtle mods with the Cipher that you simply don't notice at first until you pay closer attention and notice that something's slightly different about a certain body panel, wheel arch, or bumper. The handling profile for this car is also just awesome. It's one of the best rear-wheel drive cars in the game for casual drifting, but even without the drift tune, you can have a great time just whipping this car on some twisty roads up in Vinewood Hills. The Emperor Vector is also another instant classic, as it's based on the Lexus RCF, and it's just awesome to customize because once again, you have all these bespoke mods with no equal on any other car, and it's just not a bunch of dials or interior ornaments or whatever. These are actual meaningful upgrades that transform the mood and overall theme of your car once you apply them. You can take a look for yourself here as I'm scrolling through these options, and it's not just the strut braces or splitters or hoods, because we've also got some really sick liveries here for the Vector, along with all these nice interior mods like roll cages, steering wheels, and seats that give you so many different options to create all sorts of insane combinations. The Calico GTF is another car that I really like to customize, and while I'm not a huge fan of how the front end looks, it's a good thing the GTF has so many headlight, hood, and bumper options because I can transform this into anything I want. A street racer, a rally car, a drift machine, a racer, or even a sleeper. The options are practically limitless, and what's neat about the Calico GTF is that it has all-wheel drive along with some pretty good suspension tech, so you can lay down some solid lap times in the tuner class with this car. It is actually, in fact, the fastest, or at least one of the fastest tuners cars in the game, and my go-to choice for whenever I'm going on auto shop contracts because of how stable it is while taking corners and how easily it handles in the grass, mud, and sand, which is a huge bonus. The Jester RR is also a car I love to use for my auto shop contracts, and this one has louvers that you can install to make it bulletproof from the rear. Apart from the louvers, it has a wealth of other customization options for splitters, diffusers, engine covers, pulleys, hood and latch pins, and more, to the point that it's almost overwhelming. The Jester RR is also an excellent choice for tuner class races, and although it isn't quite as fast as the Calico GTF in the corners, it is still a really fast machine and ideal for all your daily driving needs. Just be sure to buy the regular RR and not the LSCM widebody variant, because that one is just a total piece of trash with no customization. Now, we're finally at the last two cars on my list, and these are the ones that I favor probably the most personally when it comes to modding and making unique builds for my garages. And so first we have the Obey 10F widebody. Since I'm a huge fan of the Audi R8 in real life, I also love the in-game version of that car, which is the 10F. And what the 10F widebody does is it takes the regular 10F and enrolls it in a looks maxing program so it can stand out from the rest of the crowd. The 10F widebody is faster, handles slightly better, and despite lacking an all-wheel drive, is very controllable in the bends thanks to excellent grip and braking that it has. Then you have all the various mods. There are about 20 different options just in the splitter section, and you've got a whole host of other rear diffusers. If you want, you can even delete the rear bumper and diffuser assembly together and see those exhausts in all their glory. And speaking of exhausts, most cars have a side exhaust, or a dual pipe exhaust, or chrome tips, or racing exhaust, or something like that, but the 10F widebody takes it one step further by giving you infinity exhausts, oval turbochargers on your exhausts, carbon exhausts, and full-on blast pipes. Unfortunately, the sound profile doesn't change with these options because it's still GTA 5 under the hood, but it's still nice to have all these options in the first place. And finally, it's time to present the most customizable car of them all, which is the Dominator ASP. This is the car with the highest number of customization options in the game by far, close to 300 of them. In fact, it will take you ages just to scroll through them all. But that's not the only reason the Dominator ASP is so fun to play with. Rather, it's its overall looks, handling, and sound that makes this car It's the complete muscle car package, and just like the early 2000s Mustang SVT that it's based on, this car is both gorgeous to look at and fun to tune. If you don't own the ASP already, you're seriously missing out, as it's the perfect blend of tuner car personalization and muscle car handling in one sexy package. And there you have it. Those are my top 15 most fun cars to customize in this game. I'm sure you guys also have your own picks for the best cars to customize, so please let me know down in the comments and let me know about all of them. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to drop a like on it if you enjoyed and found the information informative. Consider subscribing to the channel if you are new and want to stay up to date with everything else I post here on the channel. Check me out over on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram, specifically twitch.tv/HazardusHDTV for more GTA Online money grinding live streams, and I'll see you guys in the next GTA Online video. Adios, amigos.